I am Edwin Reynolds, proud owner of Elite Comfort Solutions, the top-rated HVAC company in Minnesota. Growing up with factory worker parents, nobody expected much from me, except maybe to be the first in our family to get a college degree. But I always preferred working with my hands over textbooks. When I told my family I wanted to attend trade school instead of university, most were supportive, except my Aunt Margaret. Little did I know, her mockery in our family chat would set me on a path to success she would later desperately need. Before I tell you how I went from being laughed at to becoming the boss, my aunt had to beg for help, drop a comment telling me where you are watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you have ever had someone underestimate your dreams. I grew up in a modest neighborhood just outside Minneapolis. My dad worked at the Anderson manufacturing plant for 23 years, operating the same machine that made automotive parts. Mom was an administrative assistant at an insurance office, typing away at the same desk for most of my childhood. They were hard-working salt of the earth, people who never complained, despite the long hours and physical toll their jobs took on them. Despite our blue-collar lifestyle, education was non-negotiable in our house. My parents scraped and saved for what they proudly called the college fund, a sacred account they contributed to every month without fail. Going to college was not presented as an option, but as the predetermined path to a better life than they had. "You are going to be something," my dad would say, his calloused hands resting heavily on my shoulders. "Something that does not wear out your body by 50. School was never my strong suit. I tried, I really did, but sitting still for hours while teachers droned on about abstract concepts made my mind wander. Math formulas floated away from me, and literary analysis felt like trying to decode an alien language. But put me in shop class, and suddenly I came alive. The feel of tools in my hands, the satisfaction of building something from nothing, the logical problem-solving of fixing what was broken, all of it made perfect sense to me in a way that textbooks never did. During my junior year of high school, after yet another disappointing report card, my guidance counselor, Mr. Patterson, called me into his office. I expected the usual lecture about applying myself and living up to my potential. Instead, he slid a brochure across his desk. "Edwin, have you ever considered trade school?" he asked. The brochure showed people working on HVAC systems, electrical panels, and plumbing fixtures. These careers are in high demand, pay well, and seem aligned with your strengths. For the first time, I felt a flicker of hope about my future. This was something I could excel at, something that valued the skills I naturally possessed. I took the brochure home and stayed up late researching everything I could about technical careers. By morning, I had discovered a path that felt right for me. The more I researched HVAC careers, the more excited I became. The national average salary for experienced technicians was $78,000, more than both my parents made combined. The field was projected to grow 17% over the next decade, due to increasing demand for climate control systems and the retirement of older technicians. Minnesota Technical College had a renowned 18-month certification program with a 96% job placement rate. The financial calculations made even more sense. The total cost for my certification would be around $15,000, which my college fund could easily cover. Compare that to the $120,000 a four-year university degree would cost, and I would be starting my career with zero debt, while my peers would still be sitting in lecture halls, accumulating student loans. When I factored in that I could be earning a full salary by age 20 instead of 22, the math became undeniable. This was not settling. This was smart planning. For once, my future looked clear and achievable. I decided to share my decision with my family at our next Sunday dinner. Our family gathered every Sunday at my parents' house for pot roast and catch-up time. That particular Sunday, we had extended family joining us. My Uncle Thomas and Aunt Margaret, along with their 2 college-age children, plus my grandparents and a couple family friends. The dining room was crowded with 14 people passing dishes and talking over each other as usual. Aunt Margaret always stood out at these gatherings. While everyone else dressed casually, she wore designer clothes and perfectly styled hair. As my father's younger sister who had married into money, she worked as a marketing executive for a large corporation and never missed an opportunity to mention her corner office or recent business trip. Her husband Thomas was quieter, but equally successful as an investment banker. "I have some news," I announced during a lull in conversation, my heart pounding. All eyes turned to me. "I have decided what I want to do after graduation. I am going to Minnesota Technical College for HVAC certification." The table fell silent. My mother's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "HVAC," my dad finally asked. Like heating and air conditioning? Yes, sir, I replied, launching into my carefully prepared speech about job prospects, salary potential, and the growing demand for skilled tradespeople. As I spoke, I watched my parents' expressions shift from confusion to cautious support. Well, if that is what you want, son, my father said, squeezing my shoulder. I could tell he was disappointed, but trying to be supportive. My mother nodded slowly. The college fund is for your education, whatever form that takes. From across the table, I noticed Aunt Margaret's tight smile and raised eyebrow. She did not say anything directly, but her expression spoke volumes. She took a deliberate sip of wine and changed the subject to her daughter's internship at a prestigious law firm. I tried to ignore the knot forming in my stomach. 3 days after the family dinner, my phone buzzed with multiple notifications. Someone had added me to a new group chat called Family Matters that included all my relatives except my parents. I scrolled up to see what I had missed and felt my stomach drop. Aunt Margaret had initiated the conversation with a meme showing a person in dirty coveralls fumbling with tools captioned, "Trade school because not everyone can read good." Below it, she had written, "Thoughts on Edwin, settling for mediocrity. Should we stage an intervention?" What followed was worse than the meme itself. My cousins had responded with laughing emojis. Uncle Thomas wrote, "Poor kid, guess college is not for everyone." My grandmother, who I thought would defend me, replied, "Such a waste of potential. His test scores were not that bad." Even relatives I respected had joined in the mockery, sharing statistics about lifetime earnings of college graduates versus the working class. My cousin Tyler had accidentally added me to the chat, not realizing I would be able to see all the previous messages. As the notifications continued, they realized their mistake. "Oops, Edwin is here now," someone wrote, followed by awkward greeting attempts. My hands shook as I stared at my phone. These were people who hugged me at family gatherings, who had attended my high school football games, who had given me birthday cards with encouraging messages about my bright future. Now they were mocking my carefully researched career choice, behind my back treating me like I was making a terrible mistake that would ruin my life. The betrayal cut deep. I had expected some resistance, maybe some gentle attempts to change my mind, but not this level of disrespect and ridicule. Not from family. I immediately sent Aunt Margaret a private message. I saw everything in the group chat. "Is that really what you think of my career choice?" Her response came quickly. "Do not be so sensitive, Edwin. I am just looking out for your future. You are so bright. You could be a lawyer or doctor instead of fixing air conditioners for a living. I am only saying what everyone is thinking." I did not bother responding. Instead, I returned to the group chat, typed, "I will let my success do the talking," and left the conversation. Then I blocked notifications from all of them, except my parents. If my own family could not respect my choices, I would prove them wrong through actions, not arguments. That night I made a promise to myself. I would become so successful that one day they would eat their words. Starting trade school was both exciting and terrifying. I had to move out of my parents' house, into a tiny studio apartment that barely fit a bed and desk. The monthly rent of $700 stretched my budget thin, forcing me to take a night shift job at a gas station to make ends meet. My routine became brutal. Classes from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sleep from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Work from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Then back to class after a quick shower and coffee. The technical aspects of HVAC systems were more complex than I had anticipated. We had to learn principles of thermodynamics, electrical systems, refrigerant handling, airflow dynamics, and complex diagnostics. Each system had hundreds of potential failure points, and we needed to understand them all. My hands would cramp from taking detailed notes, and my eyes would burn from studying manuals late into the night. Unlike my high school experience, however, I found myself thriving. The hands-on nature of the training clicked with my learning style. While some classmates struggled with the technical concepts, I excelled at both the theoretical knowledge and practical applications. For the first time in my educational life, I was at the top of my class. My parents remained supportive, visiting my small apartment and bringing home cooked meals. They never mentioned the family drama, though I suspected they knew about the group chat incident from the sudden coolness between them and Aunt Margaret. Holiday gatherings became exercises in awkward tension. I would show up, exchange polite greetings, and endure subtle digs about my education choice. "How is that little certificate program going, Aunt Margaret?" Would ask, emphasizing little as if I were attending preschool. "When do you think you will get a real education?" my cousin would question while showing off his university sweatshirt. I kept my responses brief and focused on the positive aspects of my training. Inside, though, their comments fueled my determination to succeed. I graduated from the HVAC program with honors after 18 months. The school held a modest ceremony where I received my certification with my parents, watching proudly from the audience. No other family members attended despite invitations. Armed with my certification, I expected job offers to roll in. Reality hit hard when I discovered that most companies wanted technicians with experience. The classic catch-22 of needing experience to get experience. After dozens of applications, I landed a position as an HVAC assistant at Peterson Heating and Cooling, making just $17 an hour. The work was harder and dirtier than I had imagined. I spent most days crawling through dusty attics, squeezing into crawl spaces, and lifting heavy equipment in all weather conditions. My body ached every night, and the experienced techs often treated assistants like pack mules, rather than professionals in training. At the next Thanksgiving gathering, Aunt Margaret cornered me by the dessert table. "I heard you are working as some kind of helper," she said, cutting a slice of pumpkin pie. "Still time to apply for the spring semester at State University. Thomas has connections in the admissions office." I forced a smile. "I am building experience," I replied. "Every career has a ladder to climb." She patted my arm condescendingly. "Of course, dear. We all have to start somewhere." As I drove home that night, doubt crept in for the first time. What if they were right? What if I had made a terrible mistake? I was 20 years old, physically exhausted, making barely enough to cover my expenses, while my cousins posted photos of campus life and internship opportunities at prestigious companies. My career took a turn 3 months later, when Frank Benson joined Peterson Heating and Cooling. Frank was in his late 50s with salt and pepper hair and hands that told stories of 30 years in the HVAC business. While other senior technicians barely acknowledged assistants, Frank was different. "You are the one with the technical college honors, right?" he asked during my first week working with him. "Show me what they taught you about this control board." As I explained the circuitry and potential failure points, Frank nodded approvingly. "You have got good knowledge, kid. Now let me show you what they do not teach in school." Over the next several months, Frank became my unofficial mentor. He requested me as his assistant for complex jobs, taught me diagnostic tricks that were not in any manual, and slowly introduced me to the business side of HVAC work. "See this high-efficiency system I just installed," he said one day as we finished a job. "The parts cost the company $4,000. We charge the customer $12,000. The markup pays our salaries, insurance, and profit margin. Understanding these numbers is just as important as understanding the technology." One evening, after a particularly difficult installation, Frank invited me for a beer at a local pub. "You know I make $120,000 a year with overtime," he said casually, watching my expression. "No college degree, just certification and experience. My son, the one with the marketing degree, he makes $65,000 and has student loans until he is 40. That conversation restored my faith in my chosen path. Frank showed me that success was possible, that my family's narrow view of professional achievement was just one perspective among many. With Frank's mentorship, my skills improved rapidly. After a year as an assistant, I was promoted to full technician, with a salary increase to $25 an hour. 6 months later, I completed specialized training in high-efficiency systems and smart home integration technologies many older technicians avoided due to their complexity. My hourly rate jumped to $30 plus, commission on system sales. My reputation for solving complex problems that stumped other technicians spread among customers. They began requesting me specifically for their service calls. I developed a knack for explaining technical issues in simple terms that homeowners could understand, which led to higher customer satisfaction ratings and more referrals. By my 3rd year in the business, I was earning more than $70,000 annually, surpassing the starting salaries of several of my college-educated cousins. I had moved into a nice 1-bedroom apartment, bought a reliable truck outfitted with professional tools, and started building savings. I rarely saw my extended family anymore, focusing instead on building my career and a new circle of friends in the trades. Then came the opportunity that would change everything. Frank called me one evening asking to meet for dinner at his favorite steakhouse. "I am retiring next year," he announced after ordering. 35 years is enough for any man. My knees cannot handle crawl spaces anymore. The company will miss you," I replied, genuinely sad at the thought of losing my mentor. Frank leaned forward. "The company does not know yet. Neither does my wife. You are the first person I am telling because I have a proposition for you. I want you to take over my client list." I nearly choked on my water. "Your clients. But those are the premium accounts. That is just the start, Frank continued. Peterson is a good outfit, but the owner is old school. No online booking, no marketing, no expansion plans. I have been thinking about starting my own company for years, but never had the energy. You, though, you have got the technical skills and the business mind to make it happen. The conversation that followed outlined a plan that seemed simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. Frank would help me secure a small business loan to purchase his client list and essential equipment. He would stay on as a part-time consultant during the transition. I would establish a new HVAC company focusing on high efficiency and smart home systems, a growing market segment that traditional companies were neglecting. Securing financing proved challenging. Despite my excellent credit score, and Frank's endorsement banks were hesitant to loan hundreds of thousands of dollars to a 28-year-old without a business degree or management experience. 4 banks rejected my application outright. On Frank's suggestion, I applied for a small business administration loan targeting first-generation business owners. After a rigorous application process and presenting a detailed business plan that I spent weeks perfecting, I received approval for a $350,000 loan with favorable terms. Elite Comfort Solutions launched 6 months later. I hired 2 other young technicians from my technical college, invested in a modern booking system and website, and implemented digital marketing strategies targeting affluent homeowners with aging HVAC systems. Frank stayed true to his word, working 10 hours weekly as our senior advisor while enjoying semi-retirement. The business grew steadily. By focusing on premium service and cutting-edge technology, we could charge higher rates while providing superior value. Where traditional companies measured success by number of service calls, we measured it by customer satisfaction and system performance. In our second year, revenue increased by 40%. We expanded to a team of 7 technicians, all trade school graduates, whom I personally trained in both technical skills and customer service. Our company vehicles, wrapped in our distinctive blue and silver logo, became a common sight in the most affluent neighborhoods of Minneapolis and its suburbs. Local business magazines took notice. Millennial Entrepreneur Transforms HVAC Industry read one headline featuring a photo of me in front of our new office building. I sent copies to my parents but did not bother sharing with extended family. Our success spoke for itself, and I had not exchanged more than holiday pleasantries with Aunt Margaret in over 5 years. January in Minnesota can be brutal, but the winter of that year broke records. Temperatures plunged to -25 degrees, with wind chills approaching -40. The governor declared a state of emergency, as power outages affected thousands. For HVAC companies, this was both crisis and opportunity. Emergency calls flooded our phone lines and online booking system. Customers pleaded for same-day service as their homes turned into freezers. My team worked 14-hour shifts, 7 days a week, prioritizing families with children and elderly residents. Despite our best efforts, we simply could not keep up with demand. Parts were backordered nationwide. Other HVAC companies were quoting wait times of 5 to 7 days. We managed to maintain a 48-hour response window through careful scheduling and parts inventory management, still slower than our usual same-day service, but far better than competitors. At 11:30 p.m., on the coldest night of the year, my emergency line rang. I was in my office reviewing the next day's schedule, having just returned from a service call myself. The message came in all capital letters: "Furnace, completely dead. House temperature 40 degrees, and falling." 2 other companies said 5-day wait. Willing to pay premium for emergency service tonight. Please help. The address was in Edina, an affluent suburb. I did not recognize the phone number, but something about the entitled tone of the message felt familiar. I texted back that I would come personally to assess the situation, asking for the homeowner's name to create a service ticket. Margaret Wilson came the reply. My aunt's married name. A complex mix of emotions washed over me. Aunt Margaret, whose mockery had once made me question my worth, was now desperately seeking the services of my mediocre trade. I sat motionless for several minutes, debating how to respond. The professional in me said to treat this like any other emergency call. The wounded nephew in me wanted to reply with, "Sorry, 5-day wait." I chose professionalism. On my way, ETA. 30 minutes, I texted back, not identifying myself. Aunt Margaret's house was exactly as I remembered it. A sprawling colonial on a corner lot with perfect landscaping even in winter. I pulled my service truck into the driveway, gathered my diagnostic equipment, and rang the doorbell. The door swung open, to reveal Aunt Margaret wrapped in a heavy coat and scarf inside her own home. Her expression shifted from relief to shock as she recognized me. "Edwin," she stammered. "You work for Elite Comfort Solutions. I own Elite Comfort Solutions," I corrected her calmly. "May I come in to check your system?" She stepped aside wordlessly, confusion evident on her face. As I moved toward the utility room, she followed, watching as I began a systematic check of her high-end furnace. "I had no idea you were so established," she said finally. 7 years in business, 20 technicians, highest-rated HVAC company in the metro area, I replied, without looking up from my work. "We specialize in high-efficiency systems like yours." The diagnosis did not take long. Her furnace had a failed control board and pressure switch, likely due to power fluctuations during the storm. Both were specialized parts, specific to this model. "The bad news is, you need parts that are back-ordered nationwide," I explained. "Most companies are quoting 5 to 7 days for repair." Her face fell. "We cannot stay here in these temperatures. The pipes will freeze. Can you do anything?" "Money is no object. Triple your rate if needed." The irony was not lost on me. Here was Aunt Margaret, who had once mocked my career choice, now prepared to pay exorbitant sums for my expertise. She showed no recognition of the past, no acknowledgement of her role in the family drama years ago. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to the screenshot I had kept all these years, the trade school meme she had shared in the family chat. I had saved it as a reminder of where I had started and how far I had come. "Remember this?" I asked, showing her the screen. Her face flushed with recognition, then embarrassment. "Edwin, that was years ago. I was just concerned about your future. And now my future is here, fixing the problem no one else can solve for you," I replied, my voice even and professional. Funny how life works out. She attempted to justify her past behavior, claiming she had only wanted the best for me, that she had been raised to believe college was the only path to success. Her excuses rang hollow after years of condescension. I had a choice to make. I could refuse service, telling her to wait 5 days like everyone else. I could charge her an outrageous emergency fee. Or I could be the bigger person. "I have a supplier who owes me a favor," I said, closing my toolbox. "I can get the parts delivered tomorrow morning. Standard emergency rate applies. No special pricing up or down. I will have a technician here by 9 a.m. Relief washed over her face. "Thank you, Edwin. I cannot tell you how much this means to us." "One more thing," I added, pulling a business card from my pocket. "Please give this to my cousins. Tell them Elite Comfort Solutions is always hiring qualified technicians, college degree or not." The next day, I personally returned to install the new parts, restoring heat to her home within an hour. I left a detailed invoice and warranty information on the kitchen counter, along with a brochure for our annual maintenance plan. At the bottom, I had written, "From a trade school graduate." 3 weeks later, Aunt Margaret appeared at my office unannounced. She looked uncomfortable in the blue-collar environment, clutching her designer purse like a shield. "I came to thank you properly," she said, her eyes not quite meeting mine, "and to apologize. I was wrong about you, about trade school, about everything. The way you have built this business from nothing is remarkable. I am sorry I did not see your potential." Her apology seemed genuine if overdue. We talked for nearly an hour, our first real conversation in years. She shared that several family members had seen my company featured in local business news and had been impressed by my success story. Over the following months, something unexpected happened. Aunt Margaret became one of my company's most vocal supporters. She recommended Elite Comfort Solutions to her entire social network. My cousins, once dismissive of my career path, started asking for job shadowing opportunities for their children who were struggling in traditional academic settings. Today, Elite Comfort Solutions employs 20 skilled technicians, all trade school graduates. We have expanded into commercial HVAC systems and recently opened a second location in St. Paul. Last year, I established a scholarship fund for students entering technical education programs, specifically targeting those whose families cannot afford the tuition. Frank still stops by the office weekly, though he has technically been retired for 5 years now. He beams with pride when customers mistake him for my father. "Might as well be," he always says. I taught him everything he knows about this business. My parents finally got to brag about their son at family gatherings. The college fund they so diligently saved has now become the seed money for my newest venture, a training academy for HVAC technicians that combines technical education with business skills. The most valuable lesson I learned through this journey was not about HVAC systems or business management. It was about finding my own definition of success, rather than accepting someone else's. Success is not measured by the degree on your wall, but by the life you build, the value you create, and the integrity with which you conduct yourself. Every success story has its own unique path. Mine happened to run through trade school instead of university. What matters is not the path you take, but where it leads you and how you walk it. Has someone ever doubted your dreams or made you feel less than worthy? How did you prove them wrong? Leave a comment below sharing your story. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life stories of triumph over adversity. And if you know someone facing tough career decisions, share this video to remind them that success comes in many forms. Thank you for listening. And remember, the best revenge is not proving others wrong, but proving yourself right.